Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Dirty Thursday, brought to you by River Cities Speedway. Today, we're going to do a tribute to Don Mack, who died last week at the age of 84 years old. We're all going to miss Donnie. He was a great guy. He was a great friend. And after receiving a ton of messages to replay the Dirty Thursday episode with Donnie, we decided to set today as the best date to do this. Well, then we found out that the funeral for Donnie Mack was the exact same time today at 11 o'clock at Sacred Heart Church. How ironic, I guess, that we play this show from June 24th of 2021. Probably one of the best Dirty Thursday shows that I can ever remember doing, featuring Don Mack. Again, at the same time as his funeral. I tell you what, enjoy this tribute to Don Mack, and rest in peace, Donnie. Enjoy. Hey, everybody, we're Grand Forks' best source on a Dirty Thursday with the Bullring Boys and Hall of Famer, the flying dirt farmer, Donnie Mack, joining us today. Show, by the way, brought to you by Auto Equipment Experts. For all your car equipment needs, check out Auto Equipment Experts in Grand Forks. They're an AC Delco distributor for auto parts and so much more. Auto Equipment Experts also sell and service all major brands of tire machines, wheel balancers, hoists, air compressors, and anything you need to stock your shop, or for all you weekend warriors, your garage too. Locally and employee-owned, check them out. Auto Equipment Experts, 5036 10th Avenue South and North. They're in Grand Forks, or call 701-757-2500, or go to autoequipmentexperts.com. Auto Equipment Experts open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. New sponsor on a Dirty Thursday, Auto Equipment Experts. Of course, the other half of the Bullring Boys, Chad Hobb, joining me in the studio. We'll be talking to him in just a minute.
Yeah, okay. Just a minute.
Any questions or comments, feel free to call us or text 701-213-0863. Again, 701-213-0863. And before we get going, it is time now for our daily segment called Jokes My Neighbor Tells Me. Jokes My Neighbor Tells Me. And here we go. What's the difference between roast beef and pea soup? What's the difference between roast beef and pea soup? Well, the answer is anyone can roast beef.
That's funny.
What'd you think of that one, Chad?
I like that one.
Yeah.
I got to. That's the first joke ever I've got to see pre-race or pre-show.
Yeah.
That was pretty. Like, should I do this one? Yes. Yes.
Katie, what'd you think of that one?
Oh, no, now you got to switch it for me.
Oh, okay.
There I am.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
There I am. You.
Anyone can roast beef, you know.
That's just an ew one for me.
You. All right. Here we go back on the show today. And
what an awesome show we got today.
Yeah. Hall of Famer Donnie Mack. Donnie, how are you?
Pretty good.
You need a little more volume there now? Okay. While there we go. Oh, we lost camera. I've been trying to get you in here for a while.
I started racing when I was 18, and I quit when I was 40, and I've been involved in farming all the time that I raced, which made it kind of hard to get to some places because I pretty much lived in an airplane there and we were doing outlaws and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, my mother and dad got killed in 1979, and I kind of had to call it quits maybe a little bit before I wanted to, but still it was all right.
So when you were a youngster, you were a football player, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, what position did you play? I suppose a lot of them.
I was left tackle.
Left tackle, huh? And where did you go to school? Where did you play?
Sacred Heart in East Grand Forks.
Okay. Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah. How did you get your start in racing? When was the first time you thought, man, I got to get me in one of these hot rods?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that did it was Kurt. So I used to take old cars and buy them and drive them in the trees and wreck them, hit a tree or something with them, and then I'd sell the parts. But I had an Ash Lafayette and Kurt Sobolik that had a drop front axle on it. And Kurt Sobolik, he wanted that axle, so he come out to the farm and we took the axle on. He went, hey, he says, why don't you come to the races? He says, I'll just tell them to let you in. And I went into the races, and the next Friday night I went in again. I ended up buying a car.
So did you build your first car on your own then?
No, I didn't. A guy by the name of Ray Johnson, I believe it was racing. It was a B-class car then. They were running A-class, of course. But anyway, I bought my first car for $150.
Wow, which was a lot of money back then.
Well, it was, and I remember one night I made $30, and I thought, wow, this is going to be easy.
I can only do this 8 more times.
Yeah, almost got the car halfway paid for already. Let's go. Yeah, it's time. Yeah, it's funny.
How did you had a long history with Doug Howells. How did you meet Doug?
Well, actually, me and a friend of mine by the name of Marvin Kozel, we I switched to what they called A-class then, and we had 1 year in kind of a used car, and then we decided we're going to build a car, so we ended up building one ourselves and ran it for 2 years, and we ended up with a George Swengler motor, which was the first good motor that I ever had, and things went pretty good. We won quite a few races, and then that motor, in times them race motors go poop.
Yeah, yeah.
So of course, George, he wasn't in the business of build motors. He switched to I can't remember, DeSoto or something like that for a few races. And anyway, so of course then we started trying to buy something from different people that sold race stuff. And we kind of struggled because we were having motor problems. And then that fall, Duke Ingolstadt used to drive, they called it the Anteater. And of course he was driving that, and he was a partner with Doug Howells. And so then Doug, he came over and says, you wouldn't be interested in driving for me next year? Well, we were so fed up of fixing engines and stuff, it didn't take long for me to say yes.
Yeah. Anytime you can drive somebody else's stuff.
Well, right. He'd take over that, and then he has to worry about fixing. And he says, I'll just drive, yeah. Tell me what it needs to be fixed, and they'll fix it. He drives it. How cool is that?
And Don, this was before sprint cars. Was this a super modified? Was that what class that was then?
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was a A-class or super modified. We used to call it A-class and B-class.
A-class, yeah. That's crazy to see. Like, I think, do you have a picture of him behind you? I can't see.
Oh,
there's
switch.
Hey, hi, Katie.
There.
Look how different those cars line up then.
Yeah.
Then get you. Sorry, yeah. See, look at that.
That is a sprint car.
You see that sprint car now, but now you look at the sprint cars today.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to that one.
Yeah.
How about the change? I mean, you look at these sprint cars now, Don. It's just crazy how much they've changed and how much adjustments they can be made on now cars today.
Well, shocks are so important today that most people don't realize how important they really are. I think they're more important than probably a torsion bar or anything, And
right.
There's some big money spent on shocks. It ain't hard to spend $2,000-3,000 on 4 shocks.
Oh,
yeah.
Hoofda.
And I like how he nonchalantly says, "Yeah, we won a few races." I'm looking
Just
at a
a
list
few.
here: Minot, Grand Forks, Glendon, Indiana, Blaine. Owatonna, Canada, Florida, Iowa, South Dakota,
Fargo.
You've won a few races, Don.
Yeah, I did. I just got introduced in the Hall of Fame there on Friday night. So they told me that they announced it. I think in that I won like 40 features or more.
Yeah, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he won the first feature ever at Fargo.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the very first feature winner in Fargo ever.
Yeah, and when Don mentions the Hall of Fame, okay, that's Fargo, Red
Right.
River Valley. That was last week. Maybe you didn't know this. He's also in the Hall of Fame at River Cities Speedway, Anderson, Indiana, Minot.
Mine, I knew.
Go down to Knoxville, the National Hall of Fame. Yeah, he's in that too.
Yeah, darn Mock's in there. Ah.
Yeah, guys in them all.
That was probably my favorite one, you know, because that one's got a lot of media too.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there's guys like Floyd and Kinzer and I
Yeah.
mean, all them guys.
You got, when you were getting introduced on Friday night in Fargo, we had guys in Minot. Larry McFall's one of them. He's the announcer down there right now. He used to watch you race back in Fargo. I mean, in Minot, and he'd love that, and he knew the part about you being in Minot's Hall of Fame. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool to see all these fans coming out like, oh yeah, I got to watch him. I mean, that's gonna make you feel pretty good that they still remember how you did it.
Well, it does, and you'd be surprised, you know, how many of them there really is. I mean, in Fargo, there was a lot of nice people that come down and said hi, and I spent my winter in Arizona. And you can't believe how many times I'll run into somebody and they're looking at me, and you know, you kind of see that. Finally, they come over and say, "Are you Don Mack?"
Do you mess with them? No, I don't know that guy.
Well, I say I look a little bit different now,
Just a little bit.
but I promise I'll quit eating.
You know, when we get into the late 60s, you started doing a lot of IMCA stuff. In fact, 1969, I think you had 28 wins. That's a hell of a year there, Don.
Yeah, it was, you know, and we should have really won the IMCA championship if we'd have listened to Winkley, and used to be the IMCA promoter then, and they had a race in of course, the Minneapolis State Fair where I always wanted to go, and the reason I wanted to go is because I had a lot of people from here that go down there to watch. But he told me, he says, "You go and run that dirt at Des Moines," and he says, "You'll win the championship." Of course, I went to Minneapolis and raced on the asphalt.
Right.
And I only lost it by 20 points. So
Wow.
It was pretty close.
But you were darn close to winning that national championship for IMCA just in the first year of racing it.
Yeah, that's really
big.
That's really the only year I ever went for the point deal, because I can't remember how many miles we put on, but I think it was like 38,000 days. Because you had to go to every race there was, just like,
Yeah. Well, and then he had a farm too.
yeah, that was
That was
tough part.
I got a very interesting question here, Don, and this is something I didn't know, and I figured I would because I was involved with snowmobile racing for so long. But Paula asked, how long did Don race snowmobiles? And did you have a few wins there too, Don?
Yeah, I had a few wins there too. I never kept track of them, but I actually was on the Arctic team.
Oh, okay. Was that with like Cormacan and some of those guys?
Those
or?
guys were a step above us. I was kind of a local guy, and I did that for 3 years, and then the last 2 years, Doug Howells helped me mechanic on the snowcast. So
Oh,
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun, and I was right back to the problem that I just said. I was leading a lot of races, and I'd blow the belt. Them days, them belts didn't hold.
No.
I was running that 800 King Cat. which
Oh
was
yeah,
pretty strong.
Motor sticking out of the hood.
Yeah, and all something.
Yeah, that's it. That's all that one.
Bill Novak is watching the show right now from Plymouth, Wisconsin. How about that? We got a
Hey, Bill,
Scotty
thanks for
guy
tuning in.
watching us.
Yeah.
Thanks. And
How's the cheese? I'm sorry, that's my bad.
and I want to give a shout out to Bennett Bulldog. He's back in town. He used to race here at River Cities Speedway, limited and unlimited sprints, down in Houston, Texas now.
Nice.
And he follows our show down there, but he's
thank
up for a
you.
couple of days. And maybe we can talk him into going to River City Speedway tomorrow night.
You know what's really cool is when you look at doing all this stuff. I never thought this show would take off like it has. Really, I don't think the expectations of me are just like, well, it's gonna be a fun show. We're gonna have some, we're gonna BS a little bit. But when I went to the World of Outlaws race, when I was helping, we were helping people to the gates and everything with golf carts, and I can't believe how many people actually told me that they watched the show.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'm hearing it all over now.
all over, and it's like, hey, you're a local celebrity. I'm like, no, we're just guys that talk on.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
And when you talk about that, that's funny how we ended up getting Donnie on the show here. I come walking in. It was the night of the World of Outlaws.
Yeah.
And he was sitting in the employee entrance area with Linus. And he says, how do you get that racing show thing you do or whatever? And so I grabbed this phone and I showed him what to do. And it's funny because I think the next 2 Fridays as soon as I walk in, you and Linus have been watching the shows, so now you get to watch yourself. So.
Yeah, now you can watch the replay of himself being on. I wonder if Linus is watching right now, just judging, just laughing away.
Yeah, I don't remember if I showed Linus how to use the phone, but
He had to put on his readers. Yeah, he had to get on his readers.
When it came time, one thing about you, Don, is dirt or asphalt. It didn't matter.
Dominant.
How hard, or what is the difference? Is it a big change? Is it a whole different driving style?
Yeah, it's quite a bit different. On asphalt, you don't throw in the turns and slide in there, and you got to just keep it straight. And
you don't want any tire spin.
That's actually probably the most important, to keep it straight. But I got to add one thing here. I go to Phoenix, and of course, I'm a NASCAR fan, but this year I'm really a NASCAR fan because
Kyle
Larson,
Yes.
isn't he unreal?
Oh, my
And
gosh.
So I sit there with all the people in Phoenix, and I say, well, hell, he won a race at our racetrack last summer in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Yeah, you bet.
And not only won a race here, but probably one of the best finishes we've seen in a long time.
One of the amazing finishes we've seen in a long time. And that finish, I remember when I was telling at the racetrack, we've had 25,000 view or whatever views for River Cities Speedway just on that last 3 laps alone.
Yep.
I mean, and I agree with you. When I'm a Hendrick guy too, so as soon as Kyle Larson came back to NASCAR and went to Hendrick Motorsports, I was like, yep, I'm a 5 fan now. Yeah, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I mean, and for him, he's so dominant now. Yeah. And you got the guys in the dirt are like, hey, you can have him, NASCAR.
Yeah, you by any chance see who his new boss is going to be starting next year?
Yeah, Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon going to get out of the booth.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
think
that.
It's pretty cool.
I know you call it NAPCAR, but I still enjoy watching because I do get my best naps on Sundays.
Okay, here's the deal. I call it NAPCAR because I'm around dirt track racing so much, but I used to be a huge NASCAR fan.
Right.
Dale Earnhardt. I used to race the electric RC cars and stuff, and my cars were always Dale Earnhardt themed.
The 3.
Yeah, and when Dale Earnhardt lost his life, I'm not kidding you, I quit watching NASCAR altogether for about 3 years.
I think a lot of fans did.
Yeah. And I'm slowly getting back. There's tracks I do like to watch. I like watching them run the road courses just because it's different. I like Talladega and Daytona, and I like the short tracks, Bristol,
Martinsville.
Martinsville. But a lot of these 1.5-mile tracks and stuff, that's where the NASCAR thing kind of comes in for me.
You always catch the first 20 laps. I catch those, and then I'm laying on my couch, and I'll fall asleep, and I'll wake up for the last 20, then I'm good. Then I'm solid. I pretty much watched the race. But this last weekend, he says that Kyle Larson dominated this race last weekend in Nashville. I mean, so that guy, doesn't matter what car he goes in, Don, he's perfect.
Well, look what he did after he left here. He wins World of Outlaw show here. Then he goes and jumps in, I think, a midget. And he won a big midget race 2 days later. And then he jumps in a late model. And he wins late model races. And then all of a sudden back in NASCAR. And he's kicking butt.
Right. So when you go down to Phoenix, you like to go to the track and take that in, right?
Yeah, I usually do. This year I didn't, and I made a mistake because I didn't expect him to be. He was very exciting at Phoenix in that first race too, because I got some, people that I go to races with, and of course they're mostly Hendricks guys, but they like Elliott.
Yeah.
And anyway, I'll tell you what, Kyle was giving him all them guys a run for their money. His pit stops weren't the greatest then, but they sure are now. And he was a sprint car charger. Well, with them late models, if you do that, pretty soon the tires aren't any good.
Right, 100%.
Were you kind of surprised to see who he signed with? I mean, I think a lot of people were thinking he would maybe sign with Tony Stewart, but that didn't work. Were you surprised? I mean, again, there's probably a little bit of dollar difference being dangled in front of your face, too.
There was quite a dollar difference. But anyway, I kind of suspected, too, that because him and Tony Stewart were pretty good friends, and he ran a lot of races. Tony runs that All-Star thing, so I was a little surprised, but in a way I wasn't, because before he got in trouble calling what he did,
Yep.
And he was supposed to drive the 48 car. That was the first deal.
Yeah.
And then over that year that he was in trouble, that kind of went away, and I figured, oh God, he lost the thing
the
of his
dream, right?
life. And then all of a sudden you hear that Hendricks he shelled out a few bucks for him.
Oh yeah. And no sponsor wanted to hop on with him right away. So Hendricks also owns a bunch of Chevy dealers, so he does HendrickCars.com and threw it on there. And now National Guard wants a part of it. And I mean, look at the name recognition, and it's just so cool. And I agree with Don in that. It's so cool that we got to watch that here.
Yeah.
I got to meet that guy.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, all it takes is one good win to get some sponsors on the car. I mean, a good name that comes to my mind is, remember Derek Cope?
Yeah.
Who won the Daytona 500 one year, and I think he finally raced his last NASCAR race like a year ago. Actually, it was the Busch, whatever they call those guys now, the Infinity.
Yeah, Xfinity.
Yeah, he ran an Xfinity race, but that's all it takes. You just win one big race like that, and the guy raced for the next 40 years because he beat Dale Earnhardt because Dale got a flat tire.
Well, you talk sponsors and stuff. When you look at your career, Don, is there any big sponsors? I know I saw Shots Crossroads from Minot was one of your sponsors, it looks like.
Well, I was very lucky. I had probably two of the best sponsors locally, because I had Rydell Chevrolet even before I had Donnie Schatz. But then Danny, he ended up with that truck stop in Minot, and ever since, so he was a real good supporter of mine too. And those two people I have to thank a lot, because they made racing a lot easier than it would have been without them.
Right. Do you ever get a chance to catch up with them and talk about everything, how life's changed since then?
Oh, I do too. Wes Rydell lives in the same part of Arizona that I do. We're both
that's
in
cool.
Sun City West there. And of course, I see Danny quite a bit. I had quite a visit with him here before the race here, and he's just doing great. I don't think there's a guy anywhere that I know of that's got more will to live than what he's going through.
What he's going through. And he looks, he does look a lot different, but he's still up and smiling and shaking hands.
But he looks a little better than he did 2 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I think you can tell it on Donnie. I don't think it's all just engine, but boy, he's got that thing cooking now. I'll
Yeah,
tell
he
you what,
does.
He's got
Took a while.
how many seconds, and he should have probably won that one
Here in town, it would have been.
Tuesday night. And I hope that Donnie, I hope you got good luck for that 50 grand, because it seems like he goes faster when there's more money.
Ain't that the truth?
He wants to dig in a little harder when there's a little bit more on the line.
And the whole crew here at Dirty Thursday, our thoughts and our prayers are with the whole Shots family.
100%.
Danny's a tough dude, and he's going to beat this thing. We haven't even gotten into half of what we need to talk with Donnie about, but we gotta take a little break here. We'll go over track schedules for you too in a minute here. But if you're looking for an oil change fast, maybe you want to go on the road this weekend, tell you what, head on over to Valvoline Instant Oil Change in Grand Forks. You drive up to the door. They basically open the door and you drive right in, and they'll change your oil while you sit in your vehicle. Maybe you want to go shopping, you can do that, but you're probably not going to have time. They're also going to check your cabin air filter, your wiper blades, your fluids, your head and your taillights, your batteries, your tires. They also do tranny and coolant flushes. You don't need an appointment either. It's timely service that won't slow you down while you sit in your vehicle. Mention Grand Forks Best Source. They'll give you an additional $7 savings on your oil change. And if you can't leave work and you live in town, they'll come and pick your vehicle up too. Locally owned and operated. They're open 7 days a week and fast. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. They're at 3325 South 38th Street. Or call 701-780-8462, but make sure you tell them Grand Forks Best Source sent you. On a Dirty Thursday with the Bullring Boys and Hall of Famer Donnie Mack, the Flying Dirt Farmer. Going to go over some schedules. Norman County Raceway in Ada tonight at the Norman County Fair. Got the Minnesota IMCA Sprint Car Series, the NLRA Late Models, the IMCA Sport Mod, Stock Cars, and Hornets. What else we got here? Tomorrow night, River Cities Speedway, Greater Grand Forks Fair Racing. NOSA Outlaw Sprints tomorrow night, Street Stocks, Midwest Mods.
That's cool.
Yeah. Saturday, Devil's Lake Speedway, the Golden Hammer Classic NLRA
So pumped up for
Late
that.
Model Special.
Yeah.
$2,000 to win.
Hey,
Yeah.
do you see who's running Shots' late model?
I did. Tyler Peterson.
Tyler
I
Peterson's
believe.
running it, yeah.
IMCA driver. Really good driver.
Really good driver.
Modified driver. So you also got Professional Dirt Series and the Western Renegade Wingless Sprint's going to be at Devil's Lake Saturday. Do I got more in there? Sunday, Greenbush Race Park. the Rebel Midwest Mod Tour making a stop.
In Greenbush.
Yep, A-Mod, streets, pure stocks, 4 cylinders.
Yeah.
Sunday, back at River Cities Speedway, all part of the fair. NLRA Late Model Tour going to be here, the Midwest Mods and the Lightning Sprints. And then Sunday to wrap up your racing weekend at Buffalo River Speedway in Glendon. Limited late models, the IMCA mods, the INEX Legends, plus the BRRS regular shows that go on there. So, man, I tell you what, you can pick a track all weekend long and watch racing for 5 days in a row. Not bad.
So can you see? You can almost see Donnie Mack's sprint car on me if I'm the floating head right now on my thing. Yeah. There I am. You know, we got to talk to Jason. Jason Berg wants to come on the show here in July sometime. I don't know. He's got to talk to you.
Okay.
He texted me last night. Hey, reminder, like, Jason, talk to the guy that schedules stuff. I just show up here.
Yeah, get a hold of me because we've already got a couple weeks in July booked. The first 2 weeks in July are booked already, but we can squeeze them in if we have to here.
Nah, I got to take this thing off. It's hot, but this is the floating head, Katie.
Yeah.
It's warm.
Katie. Oh, now she's taking hers off, too. Look at Isn't that funny how they can just go invisible?
I wish I could do that throughout the day. Just go invisible throughout the day. Yeah. Somebody wants to come talk to me, and I'm gone.
All right.
Put my head up.
Speaking of Jason Berg, Donnie, Jason Berg just texted in, and he said, good morning, Grand Forks Best Source, Mr. Mack. Well-deserved award. I always appreciate our conversations dating back to my days on the track working at RRBS when you brought the Outlaws to Fargo. Yeah. Kevin Pappenfuss says, my first sprint car hero. And, Jack Croker likes my shirt. And then he says, Donnie's a great guy. Always enjoy seeing him around. Kind of nice hearing good things about you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always nice, you know. That was kind of one thing about owning the racetrack is when you were watering the racetrack, you'd go in the pits, and I wouldn't even go in the pits because some of my best friends didn't like my track.
Well, I tell you what, being an announcer, they act like I am in charge of a lot of this stuff, and it's like, hey, I got nothing to do with it. I just show up and talk.
That's so funny because I'm the same way down below inside the track. I have a headset on just so I can hear, say, John's voice, so I can hear what's going on. They think I'm an official, so they point at me, and they get their hand out of the window, like, come here. I'm like, no, I pull up my microphone. I'm like, you want to talk? He's like, no, okay, then that's all I do is I talk.
By the way, Jason and Jory text me, get a hold of me. We'll see when we can schedule you because I know Jory wants to get back on the show too.
Yeah.
All right, let's move ahead now.
We got a bunch of questions to get through yet, so I got to.
Yeah. Sprint cars was Paul Leffler and Don Maxwell. Is that how you got into the sprint car thing then, or how did that work?
Yeah, that's kind of the way that it's not the way I got in sprint cars. I ran them quite a bit before that.
Okay.
But, Max Campbell always wanted me to drive for him, and anyway, he says, I'll buy you the best sprint car in the country, and you know how that goes pretty soon. You start thinking, well, maybe. And so anyway, he says, well, pick any race car you want in the United States. So, of course, I picked Johnny Rutherford's car that he just won the USAC championship with.
Sure.
But he was in Winchester on the last race there, and he flew over the end, broke both hands. So anyway.
Oh, gosh, what luck.
I got to meet all them guys on the first weekend, and now, I know them guys, and it kind of makes it pretty interesting. And, of course, Paul Leffler, he was a pretty good mechanic in them days himself.
You know, we get into the 70s. I know your best friend back then, Dave Scarry, was killed in Fargo. How did that affect you? I mean, I know you were there. Were you on the track at that time?
Yeah, I was probably the first guy that walked up to him because I was in the same heat. Mm-hmm. And I seen him flipping, but when I seen the car, I knew it wasn't going to be good. But I started walking up to the car, and there was a stream of blood.
Oh, boy.
I thought he was in big trouble, and of course he was. And I'll tell you what, it affected sprint cars quite a bit at that time because there's a few drivers that actually quit. I was actually thinking about it because me and Dave become real good friends the last 2 years or so that we raced together ever since he got that number 2 ride with the speaker or anyway, and so we were flying in the races together, and I mean, it was just probably at that point one of my best friends in racing. So it was really hard, you know. I tell you what, I sat in the tractor there driving, you know, maybe maybe it's dumb to race.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
But the race car won, so I kept on.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes you think a little twice when,
Well, sure it
especially when
does.
you see your best friend go through what they went through. But I don't know. Sometimes it's tough to get that racing blood out of you. You know, especially when you love it so much, and then you think about he wouldn't want you to quit.
No, I don't think he would. You know, because he was just a super guy.
Right.
Just a super guy. I really never seen him mad or anything. You know, and we used to go, of course, do business with him. You know, with the farm, you always got radiators leaking, and he did a good job on his business and everything. And it's just too bad that it had to end that way. But I can tell you one thing. He died doing what he wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
See, I would think the hard part about being now would be coming home to my wife at the end of the night and having to listen to what she had to say and my family.
Well, there's problems like that, let me tell you. I can tell you a good one about Dave.
Okay.
This was, you know, before I knew him really well, and he kind of got started a race. And incidentally, he's the first guy that I know that ran his first race and won the feature in Grand Forks. And of course,
Wow.
he had George Swengler's car, which was a big plus.
That helps.
But anyway, he ran his own car, and he blew the motor here in Grand Forks. And so he had no motor on Sunday. So what does he do? He actually goes and swipes the motor out of his wife's car. and stuck it in there and raced.
See her wants to run to the grocery store and the car won't start.
That is phenomenal. I love that.
You know, you mentioned him winning his first feature at River Cities, but, you know, talking with people, 1 year up in Winnipeg, I hear you won every heat and every feature that you were entered in the whole year. You won them all.
Yeah, I did that 1 year, and that was, of course, you know, there's not always a lot of cars in Winnipeg, you know, but it was fun racing there. And Pete, he was the guy that was the promoter, you know, and he was always good to me, and it was fun doing it.
So, I mean, back then, Don, do you realize you were the guy that when you pulled into the pits with your hauler, everybody else was like, crap,
Yeah. Max
Mack's
showed up
here.
again. Yeah.
son of a bitch.
I don't know.
Yeah, hold on, I got $1.
Oh. He's got to put money in the swear jar now.
I messed it up. I was doing really good for the first half hour.
Yeah, let's give a shout out to Taco Bravo Racing. They're watching the show today too. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I want to get back to the pavement thing a little bit. You know, you won a lot of dirt track races, Donnie, but your pavement. I mean, you won the St. Paul Golden 200, Florida Sprint Car races, the Little 500 winner. You've won a lot of pavement races too.
Well, I did, and I know that Doug must have had a pretty good secret on how to get the car working, but we did win our last 6 big races on asphalt. I won them the last 3 in Minneapolis, and then I won 2 500s in Florida, and then of course won the Little Indy 500, and I won 2 of them that year. But the car always worked good, you know, and it just, people don't realize how easier it is to drive a car that's really working compared to one that wants to jump around.
Yeah, and not sawing on the wheel.
Yeah, if you compared both tracks, Don, like from dirt or asphalt, what would be your go-to?
Well, I like dirt.
Yeah.
I always like dirt. I had, so then anyway, after won that Florida 500, so then we were running on dirt, and I won a feature on dirt. And that was also in Florida. And then I saved that newspaper, but I can't find it. But the headlines in the Florida paper were "Asphalt driver wins on dirt."
If they only knew. Yeah. If they only knew.
You know, back then, were you running the same car, or was it a different car for asphalt and different for dirt?
At that time, we were running 2 different cars.
Okay.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Now, this is another thing. I guess I knew about it, but it you know, sometimes you forget about things. You kind of flirted around a little bit with running an IndyCar into the Indianapolis 500. Is that right?
Well, that's absolutely right. You know, that was my big dream. If there's anything in my life that I wish I could have done, is I always wanted to run them Indy cars, and I actually had 2 chances at it, but they weren't good cars, you know. And now I wish I'd even took a car that wasn't good, but I didn't. And then me and Hank Alberts, we bought Art Sagaya's team, and Hank, he bought that 2 years before I got involved. And he owned half of it with this Art Sagaya from Washington. Lee Kunzman, which probably a lot of people would recognize the name, he used to drive for him. And then Hank, he calls me up and says, well, Sagaya died and she wants to sell the rest of the team. So then I bought the rest of the team for pennies compared to what he had. But anyway, we had the engines ready. Doug Halls and one of Dan Gurney's mechanics were in Bismarck. We had 3 cars ready to go. We had 3 motors ready to go. But we were going to get sponsored by Steiger was, you know, and it was really laid out well. Hank, he was good at doing something like that. They had me farming on the farm, driving the Steiger, and then getting a plane. It would have been good advertising.
Right.
But that was when Nixon's $5 wheat went back to 3.
Yeah.
That was not cool.
That might take the wind out of the sails a little bit.
Yeah.
So of course, then they tightened down, and you know, farming thing got tight like it is now. It's amazing them dealers can survive, but for the money they get for that stuff, it's unreal. Today, a combine will cost as much as a quarter land.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
That blows my mind how much.
And I farmed for, well, I suppose it was probably pretty close to 40 years, and I never had nothing but $3 wheat. Yeah. How many other? I used to work for my first job of $5 a day.
Yep.
Well, where that went to by the time I quit farming, and you know, farming is so far out of whack that people don't understand that there's no parity there at all. You know, out of a grocery store, they get 4.5 cents out of every dollar spent. It used to be 6, 7. That's just about a 50% hit.
Yep.
Right.
And you know what gets me, Don, is you act like you used to farm. I see you at the farm shop all the time when I drive by there. I know you're still involved with the farm.
Well, and of course, when I haven't got anything to do, it's a good place to sit and watch. And I got, you know, I'm glad that the part of the family is still.
Yeah, I mean, you got
farming.
a couple of the grand boys there, the grandkids, and yep, that's cool. Joshua Johnson, by the way, texted Don. He says, I ended up with stuff from Don Kilfoy's racing collection and actually came across a press kit from the Indy program that you were involved in. So there is some of that Indy stuff with your name still floating around out there, and it's local here, too.
Yeah, that's good.
That's awesome.
All of a sudden, it comes time for World of Outlaws. When they formed back, I believe it was 1980, Ted Johnson.
78.
78. You started with World of Outlaws. How did that all go?
Well, that went good. And of course, Ted Johnson, you know, is probably also one of my favorite men in my career. And he was always good to me, but he's the guy that dreamt this thing up. We were racing in Tampa, and he was going to start this World of Outlaw thing. And he put it all together, you know, it was going to pay $2,000 to win no matter what. And it just got going, and I was just there that I was one of the first outlaws. I was, along with some good names, I mean, Wolfgang, Kinzer, Furkel, a lot of good guys. And it just went from there, you know, and then Ted, he was always good to me. Then when I was in Florida and quit that, told him that I was going to have to quit that May. He says, well, why don't you promote a race in Fargo? I says, well, how in the heck, you know, how am I going to do that? So anyway, he told me approach him. So I approached Fargo, and they were good enough to, you know, do it. And we had a thing going there that I thought was going to completely be as competitive as Knoxville. The last race that I was involved, there was a 3-day race, and we had like 22,000 people there, and I mean, the fair did unreal on it. And then there's always some new members that figure they don't need somebody, and that's kind of what happened.
And you know, I can remember then people used to put those couple of days on their calendar every year and head to Fargo, you know, to go watch these guys on the big half-mile track. And man, you talk about some fast cars. Did you ever, back in those days, did you ever get to talk or hang out with Carl Kinzer?
Oh, I knew Carl Kinzer pretty well because I was a good friend at Steve's. But so I talked to him a lot, and Of course, that kind of blew up when Steve got that right in NASCAR, and I think Carl wanted to go with it. I don't know exactly what happened there, but there was some problem there. So then he started racing with his son, and of course they won some championships.
Yeah, they did.
And it made no difference who Carl worked for.
Right.
They won.
Yeah. I remember actually, I was along helping a guy on a 360 back in that World of Outlaw shows in Fargo. And so I was out walking the track with a screwdriver, just making it look like I knew what I was doing out there,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I look up and there's Carl Kinzer's walking beside me. And we ended up walking a whole half a lap together. But I said, how's your car looking tonight? And he goes, what are you guys racing? I said, 360. Oh, and he started talking about the track and the car and everything else, and everything was cool.
Did you have a screwdriver, like a screwdriver hand or a drink screwdriver? I just want to know if it's the actual, did you have a screwdriver drink or was it just the actual tool?
It was the tool.
Okay, just making sure.
Would you believe that if you'd have told him we got a sprint car, 310 sprint or 410 sprint car here, he'd have probably told you, I don't know why I'm doing this.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get some exercise.
Yeah, this track looks really tricky. I'm going to go back and figure it out. Yeah.
You know, Don, when you think about all of your wins, I have it down here somewhere how many features you've won, but do you have a favorite win that will always be your best win or your favorite night in a car?
Well, I do, and I hate to talk about it because he was one of my, Ferkel was one of my best friends, and I mean, we were good friends, and the whole family was a good friend. And of course, that time when I beat him in Fargo on that last lap, I could see the grandstand just standing up, and it was unreal. But you win them 500s and some of them races, it's a pretty good feeling too. And in fact, you win any race, it's a good feeling.
Right. Yeah. And one also thing about you, Don, is you were known for winning all these features, but you didn't wreck a whole lot in your career.
No, I was lucky I didn't. One time I bent the axle in Fargo, and I was kind of, feeling crappy about it. And Doug, he's putting on a new axle, and he says, "Oh, don't feel too bad." He says, "This has been on there for 7 years."
Oh, jeez. Do you ever
perfect.
Besides taking cars and running them into trees and stuff when you were young, you ever have a car upside down or go over on you?
Oh yeah, I used to roll them in the yard.
Yeah, my dad used to do that too.
Roll them in the yard.
Yeah.
And that is the truth, because I used to get these old Model A's, and of course you'd come in there, their suspension wasn't that great.
Yeah.
My mother, she was watching on the porch, and I turned too sharp, boop, down she went on the side. She goes, "Oh, they're screaming, are you all right?"
Just practicing, Mom.
Were you laughing in the car or thinking, oh, I'm going to get my butt kicked for this one?
That's what I thought. I was expecting, but Ma was, she was, would have been Dad, I probably would have.
You kind of stepped away now. You were a track owner, a partner, and I think have you stepped away from that altogether now?
Yes.
Okay, so and it was funny because, well, Don's retired now, but you were still at the track every Friday night. I mean,
But at a
Don
different-
Mack that's just what he does.
He's there, but he's in a different position now. Now he's sitting in the grandstands, like right when you walk up through I always come up through the one side and I always say hi to him, and he's always sitting there. He's not in the infield anymore, staring at me like, okay, questions 2, let's go.
Okay. How many times has he yelled at you in Victory Lane when he used to stand up behind the little sign there?
He just, when I'd walk, okay, so the first year I was here, he was still owner, and I walked down to Victory Lane and I'd look up at him and he goes, "Make it quick. You got it." Done.
He used to hang over that thing and he'd go, "Hey," and I'd look up and he'd go.
Well, especially, I was one guy in our organization that really wanted to be done by 10 o'clock, because I know that them people with the kids there, and that's the greatest thing there is in racing. Just think how many parents they bring.
Right.
And, they think about probably being racers, and of course, Linus, he threw them a lot of candy. That was always very interesting, I thought,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why I feel that too many, I don't want to knock the guys that are running it now, but if the show gets too long, people start leaving.
Yeah.
Well, and I want you to know, because I know you're probably not directly involved, but our goal every night is to get out there before 10.
That's right.
That's
And
what we
that-
shoot
and
for.
That's exactly where I was at.
Yeah.
When it was getting late, then I was starting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now my whole take on this was, and I remember telling you this that one night. I'm like, Don, this is the first time this guy's been in victory lane, and he's been coming here for years. We're going to give him a couple of minutes here. And then you never would say anything back to me about it, but
No.
I got it drilled into me that, let's speed this up a little bit.
So you had Don on you, right? So I've had 1 year of Don, and it was we're pretty good. But now I have Mike Witherall.
Oh,
I got Mike Witherall on my butt. Like if it's taking too long, he's like he'll turn and walk and just like so you don't hear him directly. He'll be like, I gotta get the show going. Let's go. I'm like, okay, all right, sorry.
Well, I didn't know that, but I say, good going, Mike.
yeah, except for the announcer that's stuck 900 feet up. That's got to go down 3,000 stairs to go to the bathroom during intermission. And I got to wait till you're done with the redraw and all that stuff. And then with my bad knees, I try to fall all the way down the bleachers so I can run to the bathroom. And all of a sudden you'll hear the cars coming out to warm up. And it's like, I'm still taking a leak.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Mike.
Yeah, and then he yells at me, Chad Roberts is gone. You need to talk. What am I going to talk about? I don't have the lineups. I got nothing. So as the cars are coming on the track, I'm like, okay, there's Tucker Peterson, the 27P. There he goes. Like,
Joshua Johnson. Well, first I'm going to talk about Amanda Joe Enright says this is a spectacular interview. Josh wants to know, would a book or memoirs of your life ever be a possibility? You ever think about writing a book about all the things you've done, Don?
Well, I guess I, never ever gave that. I didn't think that anybody would probably want to write about that.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious in the show that
you look at everybody that's talked to us and stuff today, Don, is everybody likes the history of what has become dirt track racing, and knowing what you've started. You've been a part of and have started some spectacular things, especially in North Dakota. And I know for sure our listeners and everybody's going to want to know. I mean, it's just something cool to talk about. And you have right now, we've had 63 total viewers at one point in time watching this show. It's history is spectacular, and it is very interesting to find out, why did you do it? What happened? How many rollers did you have? Or nobody knows out there just talking to you that you rolled a Model T in your front yard just because. And that's what's awesome about this. I mean, I was excited when you texted me and said, hey, we got Don Mack for the show. Awesome.
and the thing is, too, when you talk about Don Mack, the Mack family in general, I mean, for how many years was there at least one Mack racing a sprint car? I mean, because we got Don, we got Sonny, Todd, you got Todd's three boys, you got Sonny's boy, all have had their share of wins here at River Cities Speedway.
Yeah, and that's, kind of disappointing to me that some of them didn't race longer than they did. But I'll tell you what, the cost on these sprint cars is just absolutely goofy.
Yeah.
I sometimes wish that on a local deal like this that a guy could run affordable cars, and I kind of like that IMC class because at least they're crate engines, so everybody can't. I'll tell you what, knowing what a guy knows about engines, I mean, you can take say a 310, and take it and pull the heads off and do a few little things, and you're going to change that thing on real, and it's still going to match a 310.
Yeah.
Well, what's nice about these crate motors is that they're all the same no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
They're sealed, and I think, if I was ever going to start a new class, that I would like to start something
Everybody's in the same field
more.
then.
The bad thing about that is that the problem we have here at River Cities Speedway is now they want to have a big race. It's hard to get cars to come here. We tried all kinds of big races and and I'd go down to the Knoxville Nationals and I'd beg guys to come, and it was just hard to get guys. But we sometimes we got California car,
Right.
but I could never get you got to have a name. Some kind of a name.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, that's another thing that I got to say about Donnie Schatz, is he supported Grand Forks Speedway all his life. And he never hit us for a bunch of money or something like
right.
all the, I was a great fan of Tony Stewart's, and I probably still am, but when we were on the track, we were trying to get him to come down.
Yeah.
They wanted 80,000 to come to a race. So how are you going to make that?
When that's when he was running the Arctic Cat car, I believe. And I think so.
He probably was. But
Yeah, because I was kind of hoping Tony was going to show up, you know.
That's what I like about Kyle Larson. Never hit us for nothing.
Right.
Can you imagine a name like that? What a guy could pay for him today?
Just to get him to show up, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, NASCAR is surprised because he's real quickly becoming the favorite.
Yeah, he is.
Then people just go nuts.
Yeah. You got to thank Donnie Schatz for a lot of things too. Not only is he local, he's North Dakota owned, but when we interviewed him, he had nothing but nice things to say about his memories and his luck at River Cities Speedway. And the guy just loves it in North Dakota.
Yeah, he even loves Forks Karting Association's go-kart track here in Grand Forks. He says that all go-kart dirt tracks should be modeled after the one in Grand Forks. So hats off to you, Forks Karting Association. Jade Hastings texts in. He says, awesome show today. Thank you, Mr. Mack, for everything you have done to help make racing what it is in the upper Midwest. See, a lot of people know you, Don.
Yeah, I say thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool when you hear all the peers that you don't get to talk to on the weekly basis anymore are chiming in and be like, thank you for what you've done for the sport. That's got to make you feel a little bit better about everything you've chosen about to do.
Got one last question for you. How do you want to be remembered first as a race car driver?
Well, I don't really even know how to answer that. I guess I just want people to remember me as, Don Mack, as I do Wolfgang and Steve Kinzer and, probably one of the drivers that you cheered for when you were here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How do you want to be remembered as a promoter/owner?
Well, I tell you what, I would never, ever own a racetrack.
So if you can do everything over again, don't buy a racetrack.
I'll skip that chapter.
But I did, and I quit racing in 1980. We had our first outlaw show in Fargo in 1980. And I think I was there for, 22, 23 years, something like that. Then when I quit that, well, of course, Wayne Anderson, he's a guy that I admire very much. And he calls me up and he says, I think we should try and get the racetrack. And he says, what? Anyway, we put a deal together and got Zavros and some of them then changed the track. And I don't care who says what. We've got some of these people that go to some of these races in some of these other towns. Please come to the races and see what we got here.
Yeah.
Our show is, we won the show of the United
track.
States.
Yeah, the world.
Yeah, the world.
Yep.
And, that's saying quite a bit for the guys. My brother Linus, he's really good. He can talk to anybody and not get mad. And I talk to somebody and get mad.
Well, that gives big props to the guys that we have do the track now. I mean, our staff at River Cities, Tommy that helps out doing everything every day.
Doogie and the guys, the fire and rescue, all of them.
All of them. It just speaks volumes of the crew that we have.
Yeah, well, when you hear announcers like Johnny Gibson and Rick Eshelman and the late model guys and the World of Outlaw guys saying this is their favorite track in the world, that tells you something.
Well, that's the reason why Kyle Larson came. It's because all these guys are like, I love River Cities. I love River Cities. And all of a sudden he showed up, and I bet you he loves it too now.
Yep. I do have one more question for you, Don, just because it was texted to me from Paula. And she says, would you ever get in a car again and do some hot laps?
Well, when I had the grandsons and all that, doing that, I did that a few times.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to tell you something about getting younger like I am. After about 3 laps, I was ready to stop and take a rest.
Yeah.
What a great show.
This was probably one of my favorite ones, for sure. Like I say, I like history. The history of what he's gone through and what he's done in his life is pretty phenomenal. This is pretty cool. Thank you so much for coming on today. It was awesome.
All right, I'm gonna wrap up the show with one more text from John. Been part of the track some type of way for years. One of the greatest guys out there. Nothing but the highest respect. Have honestly had some of the best dirt track conversations with Don. Thank you for everything you have done as a driver and owner. #legend. Now you're a legend.
Mic drop.
That's very nice, and thank you.
Wow. I wish this show wouldn't end.
This is great. I wish I had to go back to work.
Yeah.
Could sit here and talk racing all day.
Donnie, you going to be at the track Friday night?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to meet the guy, the legend, the Hall of Famer in 5 different Hall of Fames, the flying dirt farmer. Head on over to River Cities Speedway tomorrow night. Donnie will be there. And thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
You bet, and I'll tell you guys, I really enjoyed the show.
Good. Yeah. Next time we have you on, we're bringing beer.
Yes.
I quit drinking.
Oh, well,
No, that's not true.
we're definitely going to get beer. How do you want to be remembered? First, as a race car driver.
Well, I don't really even know how to answer that. I guess I just want people to remember me as, Don Mack, as I do Wolfgang and Steve Kinzer, and, probably one of the drivers that you cheered for when you were here.
Okay. How do you want to be remembered as a promoter / owner?
Well, I tell you what, I would never, ever own a racetrack.